So yeah, the sine wave is frequency, though I hope to go into more depth here. The speed of the sine wave divided by its wavelength, or its length, is what determines the frequency of the wave. So sound waves are also sine waves, and they function how a typical sine wave would function. With that being said, when Alan Watts said that life is... Do you get his point now? Most waves start at a high frequency and they begin going to a lower frequency. A human being's physical body or flesh is born into this sine wave and will ultimately suffer death because of it. However, your soul is eternal and it will stay on this forever. This is even what many people know as reincarnation, death, rebirth. The wave continues to repeat because your pulse is the source of it. Not your pulse of your heart, but the pulse of your soul, which is a different thing entirely, though it can be thought of in a similar manner. If we are to understand the symbol of the dancing Shiva, as well as the story of Christ, you will understand this better. So I have mixed feelings entirely about CERN, but this is not about that. Because CERN has found some very interesting stuff about the death and rebirth that this entire world undergoes. The same death and rebirth that's told to us in the gospel story, the crucifixion and resurrection. Through CERN, modern physics has shown that the rhythm of creation and destruction is not only manifest in the turn of the seasons, so summer and then to death, winter, rebirth, spring, and in the birth and death of all living creatures. They leave out an important part, the ecliptic of the sun. But get this, it is also the very essence of inorganic matter, which means that for the modern physicist, Shiva's dance is the dance of subatomic matter. And this is why there was a statue gifted outside of CERN. So with all this knowledge, here's the true esoterics about what sin is. When something is a lower vibration, its wavelength increases, the distance in between two waves. As this happens, it would slowly become out of bounds or out of covenant. God is the source of life. He who stays within the will of God lives the longest. The sin, the low vibration, is what brings about death or decay. Just as simply, Christ is the life in all of mankind, not to mention the light and the breath. Both Shiva and Brahma are forms of Vishnu, the sun god, and the sun does something very, very interesting annually, drawing out this very same ecliptic or sine wave, always with a death and rebirth, like the biblical narrative of darkness to light, to die to your old nature to be born anew. In astrology, it's often depicted as this, as well, with Aries at the head, making the shape for you, continuing all the way down to where Pisces is at your feet. Knowing this, we can also see the similarities between sine and cosine and the two Kundalini serpents. This seems familiar. You can almost even see the sun rays. And that's what all this is, solar rays. The sun walking on water, there's the beard, there's the sun that rides the serpent.